In today's video, I'm gonna react to my very first YouTube videos. So, buckle up, it could get a bit cringy. Hello, are you gonna let me sit down? Can I have my chair back? Thank you. Sydney Plant Guy is turning 2 years and we hit over 200,000 subscribers, which are two amazing milestones I could have only dreamed about a couple of years ago. So first and foremost, I want to thank you guys for being part of this journey and making it possible. What an absolute privilege to be able to turn my hobby into my profession. But I also want to take this as an opportunity to give myself some credit. I have worked really hard on making this YouTube channel stay alive. I have uploaded 2 videos every week for the last 2 years. Well, technically that's not 100% correct. I think there was a couple of months where I only uploaded 1 a week. But that was also because I had a corporate job on top of that for the majority of those 2 years. And I thought, why don't we celebrate this by taking a trip down memory lane and looking at my very first YouTube videos and we're reacting to them. You're the star of the show most of the time, aren't you? And let's just go straight to the oldest video. It says 1 year ago, but it's 2 years ago. At least it's 2 years ago by the time you get to see this video. It's probably not... When was this uploaded? 12th of June. Let's just have a look at it then, right?
Hey everybody, my name is Jan, also known as Sydney Plant Guy. And today I'm potting up this monstera on a moss pole and I thought I'll take you along. But before we get started, let's look at what materials we might need. Well, first of all, I need a moss pole.
First of all, really hate the background music. Bradley, you're right in front of the camera. When I said, do you want to react with me, I wasn't expecting you to just take up the whole desk. That we can work with. Okay. Here, can you see the screen?
I need a pot. I'm just using a...
This is so cute. Like, I know exactly what was going on in my head over here. I actually made this a PowerPoint presentation or like a keynote presentation in Mac, and like the place where the video is, I just screen recorded that whole thing. Pretty sure that's how I did that. That's why the quality is so terrible, I think. But I love that I felt the need to put it like on screen over here with the materials. It's cute.
14 centimeter pot. I usually choose my pots to be quite small because I see the moss pollen itself as an extension of the pot, so I don't need a whole lot.
I love the kids' music in the background.
Inside the pot in itself. And I'll be potting up the monstera in my homemade aeroid mix. It's just mainly made out of bark, cocoa chips, perlite, pumice, charcoal, sand and a bit of cocoa peat. Alrighty, a little bit about the moss pole in itself.
Yeah, you can see by how shaky the camera is. I think I was just like, it was just my MacBook actually.
I use around about 90 grams of dried moss for a pole that thickness.
Surely nobody actually watches this in normal speed. Look at you, kitty.
Alrighty, first things first, let's have a look at the root system.
I still say the same things though. Like I say, alrighty, anyway, first things first. I was consistent with that. That plant has done so little in those 2 years, by the way, but I also cared really little for it, to be honest.
Roots, perfect to be potted up. I usually wait until my cuttings have at least some secondary roots, so that means that the actual roots start having roots coming off of them. So this is a perfect root system to start potting it up. Right, let me just quickly clean up.
I do like that I put an effort into cleaning up because that mess was already making me nervous as a viewer. Bradley, you really can't handle the fact that this is not about you for once, huh?
Aerial roots over here, I want to make sure that they make contact with the moss so they can start growing into the moss straight away. Beautiful. So here it is. Alright, so I'll turn it upside down.
Oh wow, the camera is so shaky because the camera's on the table and the table is shaking. I think I'm doing a bit better now. So I'm getting so distracted by the baby. He's probably this far away from the camera, but I've got a wide-eye lens on, so he looks a bit deformed. Look at how long your nose looks, my baby. Yeah, I'm making fun of you. Not happy, huh?
It is. It's potted up. Now, for the very first time, I actually water the medium itself. Just a bit of water, and I'm using Growth Technology Australia CCS. It's encouraging root growth. So it just looks like this. It's perfect to just encourage.
I was very organized, had everything at hand, didn't have to get up. I'm less organized these days. I think I wing it a little bit more. Well, to be honest, I expected much worse. I expected this to be more cringy. Hey, come on, get down. Go on your spot there. Why don't you go on your spot? Watch the people. Actually, it was not as cringy as I kind of thought it might be. I was definitely slower and more soft-spoken. I was very nervous, I think I can tell. And obviously the audio and the visual quality of the video wasn't that great. But look, I think I filmed this on my MacBook. I think subsequent videos I started filming on my iPhone, because that's already the equipment that I had, right? Like, I mean, at the beginning, I didn't want to invest money into something that I don't know. Like, I wasn't sure if I'm ever going to get monetized, if I'm ever going to make that money back. So I just wanted to use the stuff that I already have. And really the intention behind me making a YouTube channel in the first place was because I was getting so many questions on Instagram around how I grow my plants on moss piles and how I make my moss piles, my aeroid mix, how I pot them up, how I water them, and so on. And I was just spending all day like DMing people, answering comments and so on. But it's a very visual topic, so I figured, why don't I just make a YouTube channel where I can discuss it in a little bit more length. And I mean, this video has now 104,000 views, which is actually quite a lot, given that was my first video. And I don't think it got that many views at the beginning. I think it would have just kind of tracked, you know, over time. The first comment is the man, the myth, the legend. Oh, that's so sweet. Well, because I think previous to that, I never spoke. I never talked on social media. I had my Instagram for 2.5 years, but everything was just words on screen. I didn't do voiceovers. Nobody heard my voice before that video. That was the first time where I actually uploaded myself talking on the internet. So I was super, super nervous for this to go up. So that's nice. That's why he said the myth. Nobody knew what I sounded like, or I feel like, you know, of course it was part of that. I feel like people didn't really understand my personality. Not saying that this video helped anybody in understanding my personality, but the information was actually 100% accurate still. Like, I still follow the exact same process. I still do it the exact same way as I did back then. So the information is there. I feel like my delivery was just a little dry, maybe. Also, keep in mind that I came from a corporate background where I was a development manager, so I would put PowerPoint presentations together and then train people on how to use the software that we are using as part of the financial advice process. And that's a pretty dry topic, right? So I feel like I just took my corporate persona and just applied it to plants, but I think these days I'm a little bit more relaxed and I think a little more joyful, a little bit more. I think my real personality comes through a little bit better, but of course that comes with 2 years of experience in filming myself, editing, understanding what comes across well on camera and all, and just being more comfortable in front of the camera as well, right? It's been a huge learning curve. I would actually really like to hear from you. How did you discover me? Leave a comment down below. Like, what was the first video that, oh, like, how did you find me? Was it recommended to you on your feed, or did you come from Instagram or TikTok? What was the first video of mine that you watched? Was it like a tutorial? Was it a vlog? Was it me moving? Was it a houseplant tour? Like, how did you guys get to know me? That would actually be really interesting. Anyway, let's move on from this video and let's have a look at another video. That's the second video that I've done. Let's have a look.
Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today,
oh, obviously continued with the weird background music. And the quality looks bad as ever.
I'm gonna chop this massive Monstera Certificata.
Also, in both videos, you can tell I was definitely sick. That's actually there's two things that like three things that motivated me to do the YouTube channel. Well, first of all, me finding a more convenient way of answering questions and then referring people back to that. Secondly, I was sick. I actually had COVID and I had to self-isolate for 10 days, I think, at that stage, and I was just getting a bit bored. So I figured, why don't I use that time nicely and well and actually film something. And thirdly, I was invited to do a public speaking gig at the Aeroid Society. And as part of that, I prepared a bit of a presentation. Why don't I actually just film that presentation and upload it to YouTube as well? So people that can't attend in person can still see it. So I think those three things all kind of combined led to me creating YouTube. And you can see that outline of the presentation that I used still throughout some of these videos.
And I thought I would call it and tacky or not. Right, so what do we need for the chop and extend? Well, we need the moss pollen itself, but we also need a pot. I like to use these 20 centimeter see-through pots. I also get them from Bunnings, and they're just really handy because you can spy on the roots as soon as the plant is growing. You'll need a garden stake, but
I'm definitely struggling making eye contact with the camera a little bit. I think I'm a bit better at that.
I will just repurpose the one that is already on this pole over here, and you just need a few cable ties to hold it all together as well. So, let's get started. It's not going to waste. You can...
Look at that! Dual camera angle in my second YouTube video already. Damn!
Either cut it up, or you can just re-extend it, or give it to a friend. But I'm going to continue with the top cutting because that's the part that I want to re-extend to see mature further.
I was just wondering, why does it suddenly switch from two camera angles to just one?
To help you.
Probably because the first camera angle at this stage can only see my crotch. I'm glad that Jan from the past already had common sense. I also have not actually done a chop and extend for this particular plant. Ever since that chop and extend, I'm just going up and down with that plant because I can't really be asked anymore. I'm so glad you're on YouTube now. Made my first 2 polls and love the fact that we can now get a closer, more detailed insight on how you use them. Yes! That's exactly why I kind of wanted to do this. I can't get over how stable your pots are compared to mine. I do the same thing. I get that comment quite a bit where people are like, I do the exact same thing, but my pots aren't as stable, which makes me think that we're not doing the exact same thing. Could be something about the pole in itself. Oh, Rose, you're on YouTube. Yay, that's so cool. Oh, thanks, Rose. YouTube buddies from the beginning. What I really wanted to do is I actually wanted to look at my old houseplant tour. By the way, this moss pole tutorial over here, my 4th video that I ever uploaded, is still by far the most, or like the best performing video I've ever uploaded. That's good news. So what that also shows is that, you know, actually all of these videos that I uploaded at the beginning are actually doing really well. My Aeroid mix video down here as well is, I think, my 2nd most performing video. So the 2 best performing videos was my 4th and my 6th video I've ever uploaded, because all of these videos at the beginning, you can see they're quite short and they're all very instructional. I think they're called evergreen videos. Basically, those are search terms that people look up and then they find my video as a result of it. How to make a moss pole, how to make an Aeroid mix, and so on. So that's why they're continuously getting nice views and hopefully continuously enable people to find my channel, which is great. So, you know, that's kind of just my bread and butter. Those are really easy to produce because I do it all the time. These are concepts I've been doing for years. I just now need to kind of verbalize them. And they're all filmed without a mic, just on my iPhone or my MacBook. So I didn't buy any specific equipment just for that. So for anybody who actually wants to get into this and also maybe start a YouTube channel or have some sort of social media presence, you don't need the fancy equipment. I only bought a proper camera 1 year into the journey, but by then I was already monetized for about 10 months and I was able to take my earnings and invest further into my business, right? But absolutely not a requirement to have all of the fanciest equipment in the world. Quite clearly, it is more important what you actually have to say and bringing that information across. But those are videos you can only do so often, right? I can't do a moss pole tutorial every week because, well, it would just be the same. The moss pole tutorial back then and now would, like, I haven't changed my methods. So obviously I needed to get a little more creative and create more engaging content or more creative content, or, you know, content that isn't so super informative but maybe a little bit more entertaining, which clearly doesn't perform as well because it's not necessarily something people search for. But I suppose by then I was in a position to already have had a bit of an audience that then appreciates these videos. So maybe that is encouraging to somebody who's thinking about doing something similar. But yeah, just do it.
And welcome back to my YouTube channel.
Wow, what an intro, hang on. So 17th of June. So by the time you guys get to see this, this would also be exactly 2 years old. And it would have been 2 moves ago. So let's have a look. I'm actually quite curious to see what my plant collection looked like back then. And it's starting off really well with a little Braddles, huh? I think by then I already had a little gimbal for my phone, but I bought that for Instagram anyway. I wasn't specific for YouTube.
Hi all, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's winter in Australia at the moment and we're having really amazing afternoon sun, so I thought I'd miss my living area.
I miss this house so much. Have a look at this. Like, the sun is beaming from a north-facing window all the way to the back wall, probably 4 or 5 meters into the room. This apartment had the best bloody light ever. I really miss this apartment. And I really like this Majestic there. Hang on, where was the Majestic? Let's go back there.
Hi all, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's winter in Australia at the moment and we're having really amazing afternoon sun.
This Majestic looks so good there, but eventually it just grew out of control and I chopped it up. It's now somewhere there, the sleeve there, slowly recovering, but just hasn't really done much.
So I thought I'll take you on a little tour of my living area. I hope you enjoy it. Let's go. So over here I've got my IKEA greenhouse cabinet.
I'm really persistent with that stupid kids background music though, right?
Also, I use the
cabinet looks really good. The queen looks amazing in there.
Mainly for...
Oh, and I miss my variegated anthurium. Hang on, I'll show you. It's still alive, but it hasn't done anything in 2 years. Look at it. So sad. Now.
Anthuriums, because it's nice, warm and humid in there at all times. But yeah, it's getting a little bit cramped and I probably need to find another spot.
How ugly was that setup with that weird shade cloth in my IKEA cabinet? I'm glad I changed it to the new setup.
For most of them.
Come here.
Super in love with this variegated.
Yes, it's super nice.
This one I grew from seed. This one I grew from seed as well. Alrighty, let's close it up.
Looks super lush in there, honestly, really nice.
Okay, so right next to it I've got...
Cuprea already looked really nice there. I mean, it's definitely grown a little bit larger since as well, but not that much more actually. It was pretty big back then already.
My Alocasia Cuprea. As you can see, it's not quite as humid and warm outside of the cabinet. The living area, and I'll just quickly pan through it. The living area is quite...
Go back. Look at this window, completely unobstructed. I would get sunrise coming in from there.
And through it, the living area is quite large. I like to...
Oh my god, I miss this window so much. Completely unobstructed. This would be like northwest facing. I would have beautiful views. I get the sun all day long. I really want to move back in. I mean, I really like that apartment. If that apartment would have had the same outdoor space that I now have, that would be the perfect combination.
To keep all my
I can't have everything, right?
windows open. So there's no way of me actually controlling the...
This big Florida, that's the one that I gave to Tim, and that's the one that he burned the other day. Like not on purpose, it got burned by the sun.
Environment in here, so whatever the conditions are outside, it will be inside. So yeah, that's on this little shelf. I just got an Ethereum Bosworth Beauty over here, a couple of skin depths over there, focuses, yep. Philodendron gloriosum.
The gloriosum, yeah, that it still exists, but I had to chop it into like 6-7 little bits. I wanted to grow it outdoors in my previous garden, and it did not like that.
Over here, and Thai constellation.
Thai has definitely grown a bit.
Regal Shields.
Regal Shields is actually smaller now than it is in there. I have not had any success with the Regal Shields, but that's okay. I have plenty of success with other plants. I don't need to force every plant to be successful.
Asia and another return folio.
Oh, that one is handy. I can show you that one. I'm sorry, I'm wearing tracksuit pants. I'm having a really lazy day on the computer. This one looks like this now.
On the wall over there. And then next to it, I have...
The Dubia already looked fantastic. So did the Cebu Blue. So did the Epipremnum Penardum there.
Let's stay on Dubia, Epipremnum, Penardum, Cebu Blue.
Now with the Cebu Blue definitely has grown larger now, but only over the last season really. But I think within an indoor setting, this is probably kind of optimizing how much I could have gotten out of them. So if I would have grown them in that space for another 2 years, I would have just gone through another 3 or 4 chop and extends, right? I would have multiplied the plant quite frequently. But I don't think I would have gotten much larger leaves out of them without giving them better conditions, and very hard to get better conditions indoors than what I've had over there. They only started growing even larger once I put them outside where they have even more light available, right? But I think at that stage in my journey, I was about 2.5 to 3 years into the journeys. Or sometimes the first year is quite slow, and then the second and third year, the plants are really exploding because they've gotten used to you and your environment and your way of caring for them. But then, you know, that growth is not exponential. It's not like, oh, at the beginning the leaf size is doubling and it's now going to double until the leaf is as large as the whole surface of the earth, right? So obviously at some stage you just kind of max out. So I think with these 3 plants there, I was already pretty close to maxing out within an indoor setting.
Here and it's getting so good.
So on that note, basically, like, yes, while most of my plant collection is now 4.5 years old, like, it doesn't mean that it takes 4.5 years for a plant to grow that large, right? It could take 2 years potentially, but obviously over those 4 years I've multiplied these plants many times.
Nice afternoon sun. Beautiful. In the middle, centerpiece on my table is my Oxalis.
I think the Oxalis also hasn't changed all too much. That was pretty lush there already. It is still really lush. It's just kind of growing at the same rate that it's dying, you know what I mean? Like for every leaf that dies, there's a new one coming, and that's fine. Like I'm not really expecting it to get any larger. I think if I would want it to get larger, I would probably need to give it a larger pot. But I have no interest. This is a nice display. It still looks like that these days, so it's perfect.
Honestly, it's a weed. It grows like crazy.
It does. It really appreciated the sun in that apartment, specifically the morning sun coming through that window you saw there.
And yeah, it's just in the middle of the table.
Oh, my Canna Stuttgart. I mean, that plant I have multiplied so many times by now, and it dies every winter and then it comes back every summer, and it's huge. Love that plant, but I would not recommend that indoors. I had to put it out on the balcony eventually because it was just going crazy with spider mites.
Canna Lily Stuttgart. I would usually like to grow outdoors, but because it's winter at the moment, I'm trying to keep it inside.
The Marcianum has done absolutely nothing in those 2 years. It looks exactly like that.
Marcianum. Yeah, I can't pronounce that one.
That's dead.
Micans on a pole.
Looks the exact same because I just keep chopping off all of the things that are kind of going off the pole. I don't really have any desire to grow it. I like it the way that it is. It's like a nice, lush, compact pole. It's now growing outdoors and it's taking over the fence.
Siltepecana on a pole over here. Pushing out some fenestration.
Same deal with the Siltepecana. It is... I might have done one chop and extend, but there's no significant leaf increase or something like that. I just have it outside and I just make it really lush now. I just let it go wild, and every now and then when it's too wild I just chop a few pops off and moving on. Like I have so many plants by now that I need to really focus on which plants I want to put all of my effort into and which ones I want to give the best positions to have the best chances of seeing them mature and so on. And this one is just not one of those.
A Syngonium that doesn't really know. It's kind of leaning this way.
I think I gave this one to Tim. That's the one that Tim now has in his bathroom. Looks beautiful.
Syngonium, I've got a little...
Oh, they looked so nice back then. They're kind of all... I mean, actually the Platinum Dragon is doing really well. That's about it. They're all alive, but not really like doing much. I think I need to put a little bit of effort into them again. I think I was just being a bit lazy and then it was like a downward spiral. I also got really nice light in there in the afternoon, so I think I'm not giving it enough light at the moment. But you know, priorities. I can't give all of my plants the best spots with the best light. But I think they're currently in the greenhouse and I'm going to keep them there over winter, and then in spring I reckon I'll just put them just out in the garden. All of the ones I did put in the garden are loving it, so I think that's really the way to go. Or maybe I'll just give some of them to Tim and he can put them in his garden.
Mixed pot of alocasia over here.
So nice. That looks really nice. Now I want that display back. Jan from 2 years ago did really well.
And heading back out there. Alright, so that's a large philodendron Florida.
It was eventually just getting way too large, like super long petioles, and as much as I loved this apartment, it wasn't that much space.
And then let's have a look over this wall over here. So I've got quite a few moss pots on this wall over here. In winter it gets beautiful afternoon sun. In summer actually this wall doesn't get a lot of light, so in summer we'll have to move them. So let's look. So you've got just a few philodendrons commiferum over there.
Gave that away. Gave that away. Gave that away.
Fluent Society catch up. This is Peru. It's not really happy. I'm not too sure why the Peru.
That one I just grow trailing now. It's not doing much.
It's not happy with me. And this large one in the middle.
Chop that up. Doesn't really exist in this shape or form anymore.
Middle is Philodendron Majestic, a hybrid of Vercoisum and Solroy. And you can tell.
That's a nice leaf though.
Beautiful red backs.
That is very nice. I wanted to grow that large again.
Cowboy over here. Hello, Brett.
I'm so confused if he's meowing in that video or if he's meowing because he's sitting right here. That was him here, huh? Baby, 1 more hour and then it's dinner, yeah? Dinner in 1 hour? 1.5. Okay.
Green velvet alocasia over there. She keeps
This was the best it's ever looked.
dying on me.
She keeps dying. No, this is the best she's ever done. Let me tell you that. She's now in the garden and she's actually doing okay in the garden as well. Yeah, that's still looking the exact same. That Maranta is in the garden now, in the ground. That's also the nicest it ever looked.
Maranta hyacinthus. I think this one is I think it's called a philodendron narrow, or people.
I have no idea what happened to that plant. Oh yeah, it died. Yeah, no, that plant didn't make it. Oh, did you see Brett just jump on there? He's got like a little shelf over there and he can look out the window and watch the neighbors or watch the dogs, or we have some bush turkeys roaming around the area as well. He loves sitting there.
Call it philodendron jungle boogie. Last little section of plants. So over here I've got my large.
The Adansonii loved this spot. It was getting so much light. It was just loving it.
Adansonii.
Yeah, you can see the Siltibicana just after the chop that we watched in the previous video, and you can also see the Sapinada from the previous video.
I've got Salvador. I've got a large Atabacoy.
That's also the best it ever looked. It didn't really... I think with the next move, once I had to move on from that place, I couldn't fit... I had way less space indoors. And I couldn't fit this one indoors anymore, and then it just kind of spiraled downhill a little bit once I had to grow it outdoors.
Wednesday, another Cebu Blue, Penati Petita.
Oh yeah, that Cebu Blue, I think I gave to Tim. I don't have that one anymore. The Penati Petita is doing much better now than it did there though. And it really started growing really nicely once I put it outside.
Or however you pronounce that. And this Sapinada over here. And then on the balcony itself, I also have a few plants. I have this beautiful Cleopatra.
Yeah, it doesn't do the red anymore for me. Now it's just green these days, which is a little sad, but what can we do?
And a lily. A cactus. Yay! Beautiful view.
Oh, I missed this view. How beautiful. I mean, I really rushed past that. I still haven't learned that. I'm really quick. When I film, I'm really quick. I'm like boom, 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 boom. I need to slow down a little bit. That tree also didn't survive because when I had to move from that apartment, I thought I'm being strategic and I'm letting everything dry out a little bit, so when I have to move everything down, because it was up 3 flights of stairs and there was no elevator, so it's like, well, we're gonna have to move everything down the stairs. It's a bit better if it's not super heavy and filled with liters of water. That one I let dry out a little too much. Out of all the plants, I killed the native. Can you believe it? Anyway.
Over here I've got a bottle brush tree and yeah, just a few plants that I kind of neglect, and then I usually just put them out on the balcony. Yeah, if they survive, they survive. If they don't, then...
Back then I was so worried about growing any of the plants outside, but now 2 years later, what are you doing? 2 years later I had grown so many plants outdoors by now. I'm much more relaxed about it. I know that these plants can handle it, but the biggest challenge is really that initial step, right? If they've always grown indoors and then you put them outside, they can go through a bit of shock, but once they're used to being outside, they're actually coping really well.
Yeah, tough luck. If you liked this little tour, hit like and subscribe and let me know if you'd like to see more next time around. Thank you and goodbye. Take care.
That was kind of cute, right? Okay, now there's a part 2 to this, and in that part 2 I'm showing you like my actual nice plants, and this one I miraculously ended up filming in 4K, so let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at this then.
Part 2 of my houseplant tour today, and I want to show you all of the plants in my bedroom. I also refer to it as my wall of poles, but before I go into all of the plants behind me, let me tell you a little bit about the environment. So in part 1, I showed you my living area.
Let me tell you a little bit about the environment in part 1. I'm so monotone, right? I'm so scared about saying the wrong thing. Crazy.
And the living area is quite large, so I don't really control the environment in there. Inside the bedroom, because the room is not...
Actually, I remember when I first moved into that apartment and I started moving more and more plants because my plants were just growing so well because of all of the light, and they were all outgrowing my space. I had pretty much all of them in my bedroom. I got so nervous about just putting plants in the living room because I wasn't like supplementing with humidifiers. I wasn't in any shape or form being able to control the place. I remember actually back then I still used humidifiers in there as well, and then eventually I realized that they're just not needed. But I was much more concerned about conditions back then than I am now. I feel like nowadays I'm a little bit more relaxed about them, and I know that plants actually tolerate more. But look at that beautiful verrucosum over there, for example. All of that effort into supplementing conditions and monitoring them and acting accordingly definitely paid out for the verrucosum.
Much smaller, I am given the option to somewhat control the environment. I've got a northeast facing window on my left, and I get really nice morning sun. During winter when the sun is low, it reaches all the way towards the back.
Actually, by then I already did not use the humidifier anymore. That was already, oh, hang on, this would have been the second year of living in that apartment. I think I used the humidifier at the very beginning, but then eventually, yeah. Different shelving setup when I had the humidifier, I remember.
Back of the room as well. In summer, when the sun is a little bit higher up in the sky, I don't get quite as much sun towards this side of the room. So I've got two grow lights over here. I'll link the company down below. The main reason I chose these grow lights is because I like the look of them. I think they're quite aesthetically.
So I'm talking about the mother plant spectrums, and I'm still using them. They're right behind me over here. So love them, cannot complain about them at all. And if you want to learn more, check out the link in the description.
They're nice and small, and they're vertical, so they kind of match the way that I grow my plants. They're not the most affordable grow light, I have to admit, but they were the only grow light that didn't look kind of ugly in my opinion. So I went with those, and quite clearly the results speak for themselves. I keep my window open whenever I can, so airflow is really important. The Dyson helps with that, but nothing beats good old fresh air coming from the outside world. So
yeah, still a seconder for sure.
I do like my windows open. Let me quickly get rid of the Dyson so you can actually see the plants behind me. There we go, much better.
Look at that.
So, I pretty much gave all of my plants a chop over the last month or so, apart from the Milano behind me. That's the only one that didn't get a chop. So they're all kind of at halfway up their pulse at the moment, but honestly, in a couple of months' time, they'll reach the top again. It was just kind of...
I can't stop looking at that verrucosum. It looks so beautiful. Right now, it's somewhere there in the corner. Doesn't look that big because it's really far back. It's finally recovering. Let me see here. It's finally, hey, what are you doing? It's finally recovering, but it was just not happy for the longest time. Oh, I need some water as well. Yeah, was a bit unhappy for the longest time. This was definitely its peak. I miss it. That's okay. That's just life, you know, plants. Some are thriving, some aren't. They can't all be thriving at the same time and so on, you know.
Unfortunate.
It's also the only place that I actually lived in for more than just 1 year. You know, I actually had 2 years in that place. And I think when you first move in the first year, the plants are also settling into that space. And in the second year, you and the plants have a better understanding of the place, the conditions, and you can act accordingly. So this would have been in the second year of living at that place, not my first year of living at that place. So I would have had a better understanding of the place and what the plants want and so on. So I really hope I don't have to move every year in perpetuity, because it will never give me the ability to really truly understand the place and then act accordingly, right? I feel like the first season is always just trial, and then the second season you can actually make it work.
That they all reached the top at the same time, so I just had to chop them all, and now it looks a little bit empty. At least for my liking. I might just put up a...
Oh my god, I almost just smiled. Wow. So much personality. Hang on, there's a little baby.
What?
Oh, look at him.
Brett a belly rub. I might just use the opportunity to address a very frequently asked question.
Look, this is you. I think out of this video there's only one plant that actually had a bit of a glow up, which is the Milano, which is the Mandula.
Once it started attaching itself to the pole, it really started increasing in leaf size. and it's gone really, really white. So I'm surprised it still grows actually, because I'm not too sure where it gets all of its energy.
Well, kind of proves the point that I was making earlier. At that stage, that Mandula was in its first year, right? So that has then made great success over year 2 and 3. So it's now 3 years old. Whereas some of these other plants would have already been about 2 years old by the time you see this video. So they haven't made as much progress in year 3 and 4 as they did in year 1 and 2, or you know what I mean? Kind of, you know, because eventually just purely based on the chop and extends, you're only allowing your plant to really grow for a full 90 centimeters before you chop it again and again and again. But that just comes with the limitation of growing indoors. Certainly not complaining. I'm just trying to kind of prove a point.
Dark foliage, perfect velvet. I've had it the same amount of time as I've had the Vercosum. I bought them together. It was one of my first big plant purchases. And it's just not really increasing in size for me.
Still not really. I had like a little bit of success with it last year, and then it kind of declined again. I still can't really figure it out, but I also think it just does not like how frequently the conditions change because of me moving all of the time. But the newest leaf that is about to unfurl looks pretty promising, so I'm hoping that, you know, we're on an upward spiral again. The bathroom was right across the hallway from this room, and every Saturday I would take all of these plants, put them into the bathtub, shower them, fertilize them, and move them back. And I think that effort of keeping them clean and, like, you know, super fresh and exciting really shows. Every leaf looks so good. By now I have way too many plants. I could still do this, but I think as a result of me doing that, I couldn't produce any content. That would just take way too much time. I need to find a compromise between, you know, how do I spend my time wisely, and realistically, it's a wiser decision for me to spend time on content, because I can actually, because without content, I couldn't actually be doing this hobby as a profession now anyway. So as a result of that, I don't have as much time to spend on perfecting, let's say, the plant's aesthetics, and it shows a little bit. You see some yellowing and so on, but that's also just reality of plant care. Not every leaf needs to look perfect for me to enjoy this hobby. So I think I've just become less obsessed with perfection. I'm enjoying the journey much more. I'm really enjoying the opportunities I've had as a result of this, rather than just taking pride in every single leaf that I'm growing. So I think over the last 2 years I've definitely taken this hobby to a completely different level. Not necessarily when it comes to the size of each leaf, but more about diversifying my interest in plants, gardening, having a greenhouse, catching up with industry experts at Botanic Gardens, at the Gelique Farm, from Fido Green and so on. So I think I have expanded my hobby more horizontally, rather than just trying to do the same thing and just get larger and larger and larger leaves, right? I think it's just opened up a whole new world for me, and I honestly couldn't be any happier with how it all turned out. And I'm really glad that this hobby isn't just an aesthetic hobby for me anymore, that it's so much deeper than just a surface level. And that was never really the plan. You guys know I started this whole thing to decorate my apartment with, and it ended up being a life-changing hobby for me. So yeah, I don't want to cry, but this is definitely making me emotional, thinking how it all started and where we are now, and thinking where we could be in another 2 years. Who knows? Anyway, I'll wrap it up. I actually really enjoyed this, and I thought it was less cringy than expected, and I actually think Jan from the past was pretty good when it comes to the information. Just the personality was a little dry, I would say, but I think I'll blame that on me being nervous about saying the wrong thing and just not being as comfortable in front of the camera than I am these days. These days you can hardly shut me up. On that note, I should probably do so and sip it. Thank you so much for watching, not just this video, thank you so much for watching all of my videos over the course of the last 2 years. I could not do this without your support, and you watching my videos is by far the best way for you to support me. Please also engage with my content, leave a comment, give it a thumbs up, share it with anybody else that you think might enjoy my videos as well, so that this channel can keep growing and I can keep taking it to the next level. Thank you so much and take care. Happy growing. Bye.